right, folks, today on Guitar Autopsy, we have none other than the great Terry Syrek on the show. Terry is a great guitar player that I've had the pleasure of teaching alongside at the National Guitar Workshop at the Connecticut campuses years ago. And he's got a killer book out called Shred Is Not Dead and Unearthed Arcana, as well as albums out under Terry Syrek, as well as Syrek. Well, let's just get him on the show, man. He's a great guitar player, and for those of you who don't know who he is, you're in for a treat, and check out his music as soon as possible.
Hello.
What's up, Terry?
Dude.
What's happening, bro?
What's going on, man?
Not a lot, man. You know, same old shit, just a different day.
Excellent, brother.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you, man.
So, Terry, this is Zakk, my co-host.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
You too, man.
How you doing?
I'm doing really well.
What's going on? You're out in Oklahoma, right?
No,
I'm in Omaha.
I mean, kind of close, geographically.
Another O.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Yeah, man. So what are you up to tonight?
You know, man, just doing the domestic stuff and
Right on, man.
Just hanging in. Just made myself a tea, so I hopefully won't choke too much during the interview here or the talk session here.
Oh, man. So, dude, how the hell are you, man? How's things going? What do you? I heard through the grapevine that you are working on an album with Marco Miniman.
I'm working on an album with Marco.
Brian too, or no?
Yeah, so we got Marco on drums for the whole thing. We got Brian on a couple bass tracks. I got Mohini Day
Okay.
on a couple bass tracks, and my good buddy Lale Larsson on keyboards. I don't know if you guys know him.
Yeah, dude, I know him.
Yeah, Swedish keyboard player.
I mean, I know who he is, but you know.
Fantastic player, man.
So what kind of stuff are you doing? I assume it's pretty sick.
It's you know, I mean, for me, it's definitely the nuttiest stuff that I think I've done.
Yeah. That's
me.
gonna be pretty scary then, because I've heard what you've done before.
Well, thanks. I don't know. For anybody else, it's probably like, yeah, you know, whatever. But for me, it's like, you know, I'm pushing myself, and I think it's good, man. Just everything, all the way around. You know, the tunes I really took time to actually write. You know, I didn't want it to be a guitar album like where I'm whatever trying to play fast over a power chord or something. You know,
Right.
like it's
Of course, man.
that whole perspective has changed like a lot for me over the
For
years.
sure, dude. I don't think you've ever really done that though.
Well, thanks. I tried not to, but you know.
I mean, maybe, you know, I mean, we all do it a little bit here and there through the years, but, you know
Sure,
what I
man.
mean?
Every once in a while, you know, you get those licks together, and you're like, man, I gotta like, you know, and then you don't think about the other stuff. You just
Right.
think about like trying to get, get that
Exactly.
thing, whatever. But.
Exactly. That's one of the things that when I started doing instrumental stuff, not like I've done a ton of it, I've only got one album worth of it, but I always approached it as if somebody was going to sing over it. You know what I mean? No matter how scary and crazy the shred got, I still wanted to lay a good foundation that if somebody could come in and sing over it, if that's the way it turned out, you know what I mean?
100%.
So it's never been one of those things where let me write a cool lick and then try to write a rhythm to that lick.
Ah, it's all about everything, man. Everybody says like, you know, well, you know, like you got to write great tunes, and I mean, yeah, absolutely. Or you know, you got to do great playing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's about everything. It's about putting it all together. You know, having great stuff and great playing and the whole 9 yards. So that's what we're trying to do.
And it makes it very challenging sometimes too, because when I'm writing the riffs for the songs, I'm not thinking about how hard it's going to be to play over the stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Yeah, it does. It creates a problem. It's like, damn, now what do I play over it? Nothing's working. You find something that works, you know.
That's one of the hard parts, man. I did a tune like a bunch of years ago, and I remember coming, like I was like writing the solo section without thinking, you know, and it's like it modulates meters like every phrase, right? So it's like I forget what it is, but it's like something like 5 7 5 6 5 7 5 8 5, you know, like, and it just modulates, then it goes into something else. And I thought at the time, like, yeah, this is really great, you know, like whatever. And then I get to the point where I'm like, I'm going to track, you know, to do the solos, and I'm like, oh, Jesus, you know, like there's no vibe to like, you know, to play over that, you know. So I was like, well, all right, I'll figure something out, I guess.
So let me ask you, dude, what do you do in that situation? Like I've had in the past, I've had people send me stuff to do a lot of guest work, and I've had people send me stuff that is so busy that there's like no room to do anything over it, or it's so. It's just so like static that there's no way to build a melody or even try to build a melody. And it's like as much as people think that all I like to do is play fast, I don't.
I know.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's like there's no room to bend a note or vibrato. It's just like, you know, I had to do a guest solo on Rings of Saturn, one of the Rings of Saturn albums, and I was so unhappy with my playing, I told them I would just send their money back. And they were like, well, let us just hear it, right? And I sent it to them. They're like, dude, this is awesome. It's exactly what we wanted, right? Perfect. And I was like, okay, we'll fix that one note there at the end, put some delay on it or something, and we're cool. Yeah. As long as you guys are happy, that's my job's done. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's like, I need space. Another instance was when somebody sent me some stuff that was so busy, I asked them if they could just send me a mix with everything stripped off it, but the rhythm guitar, track, bass, and drums.
Yeah.
And then I was able to solo it fine. It was like, okay, here's where everything's supposed to sit, right? Yeah. So what do you find that helps you in those kind of situations?
I don't know, man. It's really tough, you know. And I know, like, I got a track from a bunch of years ago. I got a track from my friend Christian Munzner.
I think I heard that. You played on, which album did you play on?
Yeah. Oh my God, what's the name of the album? Mountains of Madness was the track, I think.
Is that I think that might be his second album.
It's his, I think it is his second album. Whatever it is, it's fantastic, and everybody should check it out because it's great.
For sure.
But yeah, it's really, you know, I mean, the section is very short and it was very intense, and you know, and you know, I got the track and I was really excited to play on it, but you know, man, it was like, and I'm like, I'm definitely not like you know, extreme metal dude, you know, although I love that stuff, but I mean, you know, for me, it's like, I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little more, I don't know what, proggy or something or whatever. But I loved it, and I love Christian's playing and everything. And I don't know, I just kind of got in the spirit of what the thing was, I guess, you know, and I'm like, man, this is really intense, and it's, you know, I got to do something intense, and I just sort of like, you know, put the track on, and like, you know, for me, like, if like when I'm working out solos, I don't know how it is for you guys, but I like to have like improvisation. Like, that's always been the biggest core for me. Yeah. But I have found over the years, and you guys can comment on this, maybe, you know, your own sort of feelings. I found that like sometimes, like if you go totally 100% improv on something, you start to, it's cool and you get some vibe, but you start to lose a little bit of the narration of the thing or the direction of the thing. Yeah. You know.
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. It's some tracks, you know, you can get away with that on. I mean, I've done a lot of improvisation. I mean, I started going more with the improvisation route when I was in Outworld. I remember I flew back in town I was living in Atlanta at the time. I'd moved down there from Houston, and right before I moved to Atlanta, we got the Outworld lineup together, and we wrote this one song, City of the Dead. And whatever, it came down the line, I had to move, and once I was there, we decided to finish the song. So I flew back to do the solo and the rhythm guitar tracks, and when I got here, I had a solo all planned out, and it just wasn't working at all. So I just went for it, and we captured a great solo. And at that point, you know, the guys in Outworld were like, you know, we don't want you to write solos anymore. Just start going for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I did the whole album that way, and I've kind of been doing it that way ever since. And I mean, I'll have maybe there'll be certain phrases that I go to or land on as landmarks, and then improvise between those or things like that. But you know, I've been doing it ever since. But sometimes, man, you get in there and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like it needs to be something that's written. It's got to be solid. Or not that it's not solid when you're improvising, but it needs to be more structured.
Yeah, it needs to. I mean, because you know, like if you look at the old like Randy Rhoads solos, for instance. I mean, you can tell that the guy composed.
Absolutely, you can't triple track and quad track. No. It's improvised. You know what I mean?
It's like every single note of those things, you know, and like so like when I was, you know, whatever growing up, and I mean, I kind of learned by ear a lot of things, and you know, like I said, it was way more into the improvisation kind of thing rather than working stuff out and whatever. You know, that school of thought, right? And then so subsequently, as I started to do my own solos and whatever, it was that school of thought and whatever. And then, like I said, I had over the past years, I've had revelations about, you know, structuring it a little bit more.
Sure.
And you know, my question to myself was, because I sort of felt bad at first. I'm like, well, should I like really like pre-do this or structure this? I mean, I'm like, I like to be in the moment, you know. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but like Randy Rhoads, man, like.
Yeah, dude.
Come on.
But you were a huge Rhoads fan as well.
Are you going to say any of those solos are bad? You know, it's like, no way, man. No way.
Yeah. So Randy had a big impact on your playing as well?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, he was the dude, I think, when I was like, you know, 11, 12, and then 13. I think I started playing when I was about 13 or 14, and he was the guy that really, it was sort of the second coming for me, because I knew that I wanted to play guitar literally from the time I was probably about 3 years old. My mom used to play like stuff around the house, you know, and I ended up really liking you know, Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, I think, were two of my favorite things to listen to. And that really got me into it. But of course, at 3 years old, I mean, you can't play guitar, so.
Right. Yeah.
Cool.
You can hear guitar, but.
Well, yeah, exactly. When the bug got me again, when I was about 11 or something, then that was Randy. You know, those first Ozzy albums. It's just
that's cool. About what year was that?
Well, it would have been
I think I'm a bit older than
81.
you are. 81.
Yeah, 81. I was 11.
I started playing guitar when I was in 83. I was 15 then.
Yeah.
So I missed Randy Rhoads, the whole thing. Before I started playing guitar, I didn't even really listen to music. I was racing dirt bikes and shit. Whatever I heard just happened to be on the radio. You know what I mean?
Right on.
So when I got into guitar and discovered Randy Rhoads, it was like the first 3 years it was Randy or nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I heard Yngwie, and that.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Yeah,
Life changed.
Changed everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, you were talking about you weren't talking about ear training, but you said something about figuring out things by ear a second ago, I think.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, I've always known you as somebody that has a really great ear.
Thank you.
How did you develop that? Did it come naturally, or did you have to work hard at it, or what?
I think a little of both, man. You know, I think that you have you have a little something to start with, you know.
Yeah.
And then you just develop it. And for me, I mean, I guess probably like I would imagine any rock guitar player that starts off or metal guitar player that starts off, you know, that's a sweeping generalization, of course, but you know, I mean, I know you and I know a lot of us, you know, like that's kind of how we grew up, is like, I mean, slowing down, you know, all the albums, actually not really even slowing down at that point. I mean, we had, for me, it was cassette tapes, you know, so I would sit there with a cassette tape and headphones and like, you know, literally I would just like, you know, play and stop and try to get like one note, you know, whatever it was, and then play and stop, and then play and stop, and then I would just do that for like, you know, 10 hours.
Yeah, man, I don't think I got that. I didn't really even understand how to approach it. I would listen to stuff, and I wouldn't even know where to start. I don't think I even could conceive like one note, start, stop. You know what I mean? It was just like I just thought you were just supposed to hear it and be able to play it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't work that way. And I, you know, after trying to learn stuff by other people for a while, I discovered that, you know, I could write, because every time I try to figure out somebody else, I'd come up with my own riffs while trying to do it. And after a while, I just said, fuck it. Let me just go off the vibe of whatever I'm hearing and just go for it and write my own stuff. And I kind of stuck with it and never looked back. But Zakk has got an interesting story, because Zack's got a great ear. But Zakk, his father played a big role in him developing his ear. His dad tunes pianos. And I don't know if you know anything about that, but it's pretty intense skill.
I should probably learn more about it so I can explain it better. Like, because my dad knows all about it, and but yeah, I mean, my dad was kind of a hard ass when it came to music, because he
big Randy Rhoads fan too.
Huge Randy Rhoads fan. He's in an Ozzy tribute band now.
Oh, right on, man.
You know, and but my dad was like, you know how when you get a student in who is figuring out how to just piece it all together, and they give themselves little outs, you know, like, well, maybe I'll just practice 15 minutes tonight. And then like, oh, I read online that if you only play 10 minutes a day, that's fine too. And you're like, yeah, but you're never going to accomplish anything with 10 minutes of practice. But they've built it up in their head, or they'll be like, well, you know, my fingers started to hurt, so I stopped playing. My dad was not going to let me have any of that shit, like, at all. My dad was like, get your ass over there and play. And I'm like, I don't want to play. And then he'd be like, I don't care what you want. You know, my dad was an asshole. Like, but I love him, you know, I mean, it's just the way it is. But he would always like, he'd be tuning pianos, and when you're tuning, you're kind of not necessarily listening to the notes as much as you're listening to the vibration of the temperament between the notes, right? Yeah. And so he would force me to like lay my head on the, like literally like push my head down onto the piano so I could listen and hear the intervals and hear the like vibrations and stuff like that. So I don't know, like you said, a little bit of both, where it's, yes, you're going to, maybe you have something internally that you can kind of identify notes, but then you have to put in the work to identify what it all means, right? Yeah. And it was, and then he'd be like, this is a minor third. And I'd be like, I don't know what that means. He's like, well, you're fucking going to know what it means. Like that, that's how he was, dude. It was bad. That's crazy. And of course now he's like, oh hell, I was never like that. And I was like, oh, okay. That's why I'm emotionally scarred for my whole life. Like, cause you weren't like that. Yeah. But it worked.
It worked for your guitar playing, so, you know.
Well, that's what he says. He's like, well, you're good. So, and I'm like, you know, the funny story I always tell, like with Rusty, is when I won that competition in 2017, right? I called my dad at like midnight or whatever time it was, because he was awake, and I was like, dude, I won, and he was all excited about it, and he was like, I can't believe, oh my god, that's amazing, and then a couple minutes of us just talking about it goes by, and then he goes, man, I'm really surprised though. And I was like, why? and I was like, why? And he's like, well, you fucked up a lot.
Oh man,
that's awesome, dude.
I just like.
So like, are you in therapy now? Is that the next step of this?
Yeah, I'm in therapy.
Oh man,
But you know, I mean, and then
such
of
an
course,
awesome contrast. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised though.
That's like a Niccolo Paganini situation, right?
Right?
a little bit maybe.
Where his dad made him practice all day long in the room while his friends were out playing in the street or whatever.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's crazy, dude.
I mean,
man.
but he wasn't. It wasn't as bad as maybe I make it sound. But he just kind of knew that I had something. I think he just wanted to push for it, and I appreciate it because my ear is. I think it's pretty good. You know, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know if anybody actually truly has perfect pitch. I don't know if that's really a thing. I don't know.
I think I know somebody that does have perfect pitch, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd say I have pretty close to relative perfect pitch. Like if you give me a note, I can figure out what to do with it from there. Yeah. But, you know, the other day I can, like if somebody gives me a note, sometimes I can sing it and then figure out where I think it's at on the guitar and be really close. So that's
because you're figuring it out from what you used to hearing with your head on the piano, hearing those waves, not the pitch, but the waves.
Correct.
Of the note, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So it's kind of a way different thought, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story, Zakk. I like that.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that guy that used to have the ads in guitar magazines back in the day where you relative pitch that guy?
Yeah, perfect.
Well, I bought that course and it didn't do shit for me. but it almost reminds me, some of the things the guy was saying in it almost reminds me a little bit of some of the things that you're saying, Zakk, because his approach to it was listening to, you know, he compared to like colors, you know, but it's like, but you're hearing it as a wave or a vibration and not like, for me, when I hear this, I'm trying to figure out what that is. I'm not like listening to it the same way. Maybe that's what's held my ear training back or my development of my ear or whatever. I don't know.
Well, I think you're fine now.
I think you're good.
It's all right.
You know, I guess we could always get better.
It's been a struggle, but you know, it's things are always like things that I don't get naturally. They're always like intrigue me. It's like I don't know how it works, and it's like I always feel like, you know, I'm this close away from understanding. If somebody would just fill me in on that one little missing step, then I would get it. You know what I mean? You know, because as musicians, I don't think we're ever very far away from what we want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always just like
quite there
very
either.
small, right? Exactly. I don't think we'll ever get there. You know what I mean?
It's a moving target, man. It's always like, you know, you think you got it, and then just when you do, it's like, forget it. That's actually, I don't know if you guys want to talk about that or not, but that's actually something that that I wanted to just discuss with you know, you at some point, was just the idea of practice and like how you guys grew up and everything.
Absolutely.
Because I know that, like, you know, when I met you, I don't know when we met, man. It was
I think we actually met before we taught together. We knew each other before we taught at the Guitar Workshop.
We did, and then we taught there in the late 90s, was it?
Yes, it was definitely the late 90s, around 98, 96, 90.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Somewhere on the downside of the 90s.
It was the trailer park year.
Yeah,
and,
the big wands. And
the wands, man. There's a subject for discussion later on.
Sing Vai. Yeah, man. I also, we'll get back to this in a minute, but I discovered the real Sing Vai, and I'll tell you about him later.
Oh,
but,
very nice.
Yeah, Sing Vai does exist.
That's awesome, man. That's good news to know.
Yeah.
So maybe we were actually like Nostradamus of our time or something.
That's right. Yeah. That's awesome.
But I was curious because, you know, what I was going to say is that, you know, when Rusty, when I met you, I definitely felt, you know, kindred spirit, man. Like we, you know, not only on the guitar, but I mean, just as people hanging out or whatever. And I know that, like, sometimes as being a guitar player that practices a lot, you know, you really devote a lot of time to that as a kid, and obviously, you know, you have immense skill on the instrument. You know, it's a little isolating at times, right? Because like you encounter other guitar players or other whatever, and like, nobody really is in that same mindset until you find a guy or another person or you know, whatever. So
totally agree.
You know, how was it for you, like growing up when you practiced? Did you start off? And this is certainly a question for you too, Zakk. Did you guys start off, like, you know, 0 to 60? You know, how many hours did you do? Like, what were the thoughts and feelings and all that kind of stuff?
For me, it was pretty much 0 to 60 because I've always been that way. You know, I didn't know that you did things any other way.
Yeah.
I thought that was normal, that everybody was like that. You know what I mean? No. So I grew up, you know, in a motocross racing family, and as soon as I was old enough, they had me on a dirt bike, and that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And then somewhere along the lines, I discovered guitar, And then when I started playing guitar, it was all or nothing, you know what I mean? And the solidifying point when I switched from dirt bikes to guitars was when I had been in an accident racing and broke a couple bones in my foot at one of the Supercross, stadium tracks here in Houston. And I was already riding on a bike that was a year old. So after I got out of the injury, it was already 2 years old, and my brothers used to get brand new dirt bikes every year. And I was probably just a spoiled kid and didn't realize that they didn't give me the new dirt bike because they probably couldn't afford it or whatever, you know. But so I just held that against them and was like, all right, fine. Well, I'm selling all my shit and I'm buying another guitar. So I bought a new guitar and never looked back. And my dad he passed away in '99, but if he was still alive, he'd still to this day say, I wish I would have bought you that new dirt bike, Yeah. But I digress. But, so for me, it was like, it was pretty much all or nothing. I started playing guitar, and the whole isolation thing came along with it because prior to that, I'd been like a popular kid in school and all that stuff, and hung out with the in crowd and all that shit, which means absolutely nothing once you grow up.
Where are they now?
Yeah, exactly.
And not like in fame, but like you don't even talk to them.
Right, exactly. Yeah, every now and then people crawl out of the woodwork and go, oh yeah, remember that? And it's like, dude, you didn't talk to me in school.
Yeah.
But I went from, being a popular kid in school to just like, not having any friends really, except for a couple guitar player friends. And it's easy to lose friends when you answer the phone like this. What? I'm trying to practice. Click. Sure. You know what I mean? And that's how I wasn't smart enough just to turn the ringer off, because this was way before the age of cell phones and shit. Because I seriously used to answer the phone that way. I'd be trying to practice.
I know, man. For me, it was like I'd sit there like,
yeah, exactly.
What? Yep.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
What? And they're like, dude, I gotta go. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, no.
So yeah, man. Before you know it, it was like, just me and a couple guitar player buddies, and it was. I wouldn't go back and change a thing about it, because when I look back, it actually probably saved me from getting into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Because if I would have been going out every weekend with my friends or whatever and drinking and partying and doing stupid shit, yes, that leads nowhere for sure. It might have been fun, but anyway, so I avoided a bunch of that stuff and just played guitar. And it was weird for my parents too, because it was like send my meals to my room kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just was all or nothing. And years later, when I was teaching at this guitar shop, was when I finally was enlightened to the way I am. I had been in a guitar lesson, and I guess the owner of the store overheard me getting onto one of my students or something. Mm-hmm. And he, when we came out of the lesson, he took me aside and he goes, Rusty, everybody's not like you. And it was right in that moment that I kind of just had this aha moment, and not that the aha moment was that I was better or anything like that, but that my level of commitment and dedication is not the same as everybody else. Everybody else is just like, well, I think I'd like to play guitar.
Right.
You know what I mean? For me, it was like, I'm going to play guitar. This is what I'm going to do. And when you have that mindset, it's like that's what you do. It's all or nothing. There is no, I never had a backup plan ever.
Yeah.
There's no backup plan. I'm not going to prepare to fail.
Yeah. Well,
right? And all that time I spent preparing to fail, I could have succeeded, maybe.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's kind of the short story. Zakk, you want to?
I was gonna say I like that. What you said about having a backup plan in some ways means that you're setting yourself up to fail.
Absolutely.
Because if you think about, look at Robin Williams, for example, one of the greatest actors of all time, funny, awesome, talented. He said that his dad was scared that he was going to become an actor because it's not, what do you want to call it? It's not as lucrative as it can be unless you get up to that elite level. And
it's a hard career.
His dad made him do welding.
Yeah.
Just as a backup, just have a backup plan in case, which as a parent, I understand, you want your kid to be successful. But he was like, I did it just to appease my parents, but in the back of my mind, I knew I was never going to weld again. And that's just it right there. He didn't have a backup plan. It was, if I have to live in my car, I'm going to live in my car.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just it. So,
yeah.
Yep.
But as far as me, I grew up in a super small town. I don't know. Neither of you have really probably been to Omaha for longer than a second to drive through it, I assume.
I don't think I've even been there. Yeah.
So outside of Omaha is a place called Lincoln, which is the capital of Nebraska, right? So that's kind of a bigger city. Omaha and Nebraska, or Omaha and Lincoln are kind of the two big cities of Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in between the two in a very small town, 312 people. And then outside of that was another place where I went to high school. There was I think 900 people. And then the elementary school was another 10 miles from there, and there was like 1,200 people. And all of it came together to build one school where I had a graduating class of 38 people.
Holy shit.
Wow.
My whole senior graduating class was bigger than all that number you just went through.
We had like drive your tractor to school day.
Nice.
That was not me.
Yeah.
I was not participating in that whatsoever. I was the weird kid that liked metal and Kiss and, whatever. So as far as having guitar players to talk to, there was none. Yeah. It was me in my room. But at the time, being right at the age of YouTube, right? Because I'm 29, so that would have been 2000 and let me see, I'm 92, so I started in 2006, and that's right when YouTube really started like being a thing. I remember like you had to like wait for the videos to buffer so you could watch the whole thing, like that kind of thing. So I was kind of thrown into a whole other realm of learning. I found out about Rusty Cooley, and I found out about all these guitar players that, maybe you would have had to go buy a magazine or something for. Mm-hmm. And luckily my dad played, so it was really just me and my dad hanging out and playing guitar all the time. So that was my guitar player thing. But other than that, I didn't really even get into this whole like talking to other guitar players until after college, because I went for music education. Mm-hmm. But then I fucking hated it because it was like they don't like guitar players. Yeah. Actual musicians really don't like guitar players. Yeah, because we don't really talk in musical terms. We don't read music the way that other people do. We read tabs, and the other thing is like in this instance, we're tuned down half a step, but we still call it G, even though it's G flat, and then they get all pissed off at you. I mean, there's all these little things that they just didn't really care for, and I just didn't care. And I was like, I feel like I'm working at it. So then I stopped playing for like a year and went and worked at Walmart and did that, and then sold cars, and then kind of started getting back into it. So I don't know. This is the most I've ever talked to any guitar player.
Awesome.
This lasts like 2 months.
Yeah. Well, what a great way to fucking do it, right?
Yeah. Oh, right.
I mean, jump right in the deep end with all the heavyweights, man.
Dude, that's all or nothing. That's how I've always been. Like again, just like you, I never had a backup plan.
Yeah.
It was always guitar. That's all I'm good at. I mean, I'm good at a lot of things, but in my head, that seemed to be the only thing I was good at.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, of course, but that was the one thing I was going to ask you guys is, I think a lot of people, or I should say guitar players or musicians, are actually pretty entrepreneurial by spirit, I think. A lot of them that I know they just play guitar. It's like some of them have like a business that they run, or they do online things, or they do, maybe they're into like, motocross, or they're into building cars and stuff like that. I wonder, like, do you guys have things like that you, like hobbies or things that you put just as much effort into, but it's not really there to make you money. It's more like a break from this that gives you satisfaction still.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. Do you want to go for that first, Terry?
No, there's only guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, really for my livelihood and to make money, I mean, it's music, all the way.
Right.
Just teaching,
So what do you do when you're not playing guitar? Do you have anything you go to for just like peace of mind to just escape and get away?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I have so I mean, there's a lot of things. There's I have a family, so there's a lot of things that you have to deal with, for that, of course. For a long period of my life, and unfortunately not for the last couple of years, I was really into lifting, and that was really great outlet. Mountain biking was a big thing for me because I BMX as a kid and did all that stuff.
Same shit as me, mountain biking and lifting.
Yeah, dude. And that stuff. And then of course, my other side is that I'm an absolute complete nerd. So I'm totally into like, video games and but not just video games. Like some guys, if they play like the right video games, like you still have some cred, right? Like, oh, I'm playing Black Ops, man. Oh yeah, that's great. Me, I'm like I'm not into like MMOs. Like World of Warcraft. That's like my fantasy MMO kind of stuff. So, super nerdy kind of things like that.
Yeah. That's cool, man. So you mentioned lifting. Is there a reason that you're not lifting now?
Well, I moved over the past couple of years, and then over the past couple of years, a couple of things came up. Of course, right about the time that I was ready to, after the move, to rejoin the gym, COVID thing happened.
Oh, gotcha.
So, I'm out on that.
Right.
But, and then last year's been a little wacky in terms of, my health and all this kind of stuff.
Gotcha,
long
man.
story, but at this point in time, I actually can't feel part of my left arm.
Wow.
And, there's an intense pain that is doesn't stop.
Right.
So,
Is there anything you want to elaborate on, or do you rather not talk about it?
No, I don't mind. It was just a surgery for like a routine surgery, just to get rid of some cysts or something. And I think they must have hit something because
oh man,
yeah, it's like some pretty significant pain.
Is it gonna fix itself, or what's?
I don't know. Everybody's like, yeah, it's gonna be great. Went to the surgeon. He's like, yeah, it happens all the time. I'm like, yeah, but I can't actually feel my arm like when I do this, and it really hurts. Like I get up in the morning and
So you can't feel it and it hurts.
So you can't feel it here, and then it hurts like hell, like here and like here, like on either side of the thing,
Oh man, that's fucking. Does it
good times.
Does it affect your playing?
Fortunately, the motor skills, still work.
Okay,
so my my hands and all that kind of stuff, I can still.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I was lifting, not to change subjects, but we were talking about lifting too, and I was doing it pretty heavily, and then I hurt my shoulder, dude, and and it put me out of the game for a while.
That sucks, man.
It does, and because if you can't lift, it's like I'm not going to go just do legs.
Sure.
You know what I mean, it's going to look like a dork.
Sure.
Just fucking thighs and shit. But so when you stop lifting, then surely the diet starts to go too, and before you know
momentum.
Yeah. So, and I've got enough shit. I've got a full gym here in my house, and I walk by it every day, and it's just collecting dust. You know what I mean? So, but I need to change that. I think my shoulder's pretty well recouped. I mean, I was doing some weird stuff at the time. I don't know if I was lifting at an apartment complex that I was living at, and a buddy of mine said those machines can jack up your shoulders.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping really weird for a while. I had to wake up and my arm would be like this and shit, and
Oh man.
And,
that's the worst. Actually, I was talking to that pain specialist today. When you sleep like with your arm up like this, you're just doing nothing but pinching everything right here,
keeping like how, like up like this.
Yeah.
A lot of times I sleep like this. It looks like I'm in a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So that's probably not good too. But I mean, even then it was like I could go like this and I'd hear some grinding, like it had some, some pebbles or some sand or something in there. It doesn't sound that way now, but I don't know. But I mean, I think for me personally, staying fit and in shape is important.
I agree.
I
got fat there for a minute, man. I was at like 260 pounds. Like it was bad.
Damn,
but I wasn't playing, and I was just depressed, and it just happens. And then
how tall are you?
Like 5'9".
Okay, I'm 5'8", man, and I don't think I've ever been over 160.
Well, I weigh 230 now, but it's like 90% muscle probably.
That's all muscle, right?
Yeah, probably.
Going to the gym, it's that way.
Bench 315. So.
Benching 3. Yeah, no, I'm not close to 315, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
I've always been a little bit bigger, but I started basically the thing that actually was messed up was my testosterone levels were fucked up. And then I got that checked out and then got onto the routine weekly injections and stuff like that. I dropped weight like crazy and I was like just feeling better and I healed quicker. So that had a lot to do with it, I think.
Yeah, for sure, man. That shit helps. I did the same thing when I was working out really hardcore. When I first started, I was doing like 5 and 6 days a week, just like nonstop, and
same mentality, right? As a guitar, it's like you go in there and you're like,
right, you gonna do it or not, right?
Yeah, come on, another more plates. Let's go.
Yeah. So I was taking all these crazy, nothing illegal at the time. Well, not that I ever did anything illegal, because I eventually got steroids from a doctor. Because all the shit that I was taking over the counter fucked up my testosterone and shit. I first discovered it. I went in to get my physical and all that stuff, and my liver, I think it was my liver, the numbers on my liver came back like insanely high.
Yeah.
The numbers were so high, there was only like a couple of options. It was like either like multiple sclerosis or not HIV, but like Hep C or something like that. And my doctor asked me everything that I was taking. He said, all right, look, man, for the next month, don't take any supplements at all. So I stopped all the supplements and went back in, and my numbers went back to normal. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I was taking fucked me all up. Yeah. So shortly after that, we got my testosterone checked, and that shit's awesome. So I've been on testosterone therapy for a few years.
Good deal.
But it's good, man. I mean, hell, fuck, I'm getting older anyway, so I probably wasn't gonna need it anyway.
I think Rusty. I think that's the moral of the story here is that we're old.
Yeah, except for that guy.
Yeah, well, this guy, he's got many good years.
Yeah, so you got
Well, but I was already messed up at 25, so I don't know what the hell I'm going to look like at 50, dude.
Oh, man, you'll be fine, bro.
I'm not looking forward to it.
So practicing again. So what about you, Terry? What was your practicing like back then?
So when I started, I was into like some Randy Rhoads and some of these guys that were pretty, whatever, technical on the guitar, I guess you could say for the time. But I didn't really I was serious about it because I really wanted to play. But my guitar teacher told me, he said, just practice. He said, you can practice a half hour a day. That's cool. And so like, I'm one of these people that I'm real good with like orders, somebody tells me like do this. And then I'm like, okay. And I don't really go outside of that box. And so I practiced for a half an hour every day. And then eventually, I started to just do this thing where I was like, I really want to play more guitar. Like, I don't and so I would sneak practicing, starting to practice more.
So you felt like you were only supposed to practice that long?
Yeah, I felt like I was only supposed to practice a half hour a day, So I'm like, but I want to play like an hour or two. And then it kind of gradually started to go. And then as I started to listen to different dudes, one of the next guys for me was Gary Moore. And not, at that point it wasn't Gary's blues thing, it was Gary's metal thing, which,
like the loner and that?
Well, no.
Orders of Power and shit.
Victims of the Future. That album for me was like a Bible,
Yeah.
And he played the stuff on there, man. It was just like, crazy. And so I really wanted to do that.
That dude could pick like hell, man.
Absolutely, man. And on that sound too, when you go back and you listen to that, man, it's like literally a probably unmodified Marshall, just cranked up with master volume, like in a room. I mean, so loud. Yeah. You can hear it on oh my God, what's the End of the World intro?
Mm-hmm.
Because he does that stuff where he's doing that one that line, but before he does it, he goes like the noise that comes in.
Right.
That thing.
Yeah.
And it's like such a thump that you can tell that this guy is playing like really loud, so you don't get that same kind of like presence on the guitar,
and they weren't really using noise gates back then either.
No,
Yeah, it was just like turn it on and you better be ready to go.
Well, we have Strat too,
you
get that buzz and everything, but that's what really started me, I think, down the dark side. And so I literally just started to practice more and more and more, and then all of a sudden this Yngwie Malmsteen comes out.
Oh yeah, man.
So I'm reading interviews with Yngwie at the time. And he says, I practiced 8 hours a day, 8 hours every day. And I'm like, man, if that guy practices 8 hours a day, like I got to like step my game up. Like I got to practice 10 hours at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I got into this thing where, I just had to really discipline myself because I'm also one of these people that I think, they probably would have diagnosed me with like, ADD or something at the time. Had we done that back in the day, but if I don't pay attention to something, I'm gone,
Yeah.
So I really had to structure everything. And for me, I had a clock, and I would start on the dot. I'd say like I'm practicing at 9 o'clock, and then I would practice for 6 hours on a stretch or something, and then like when it was like say like 5 o'clock at night, I'm supposed to stop. Here's 4:59, and I'm like no, not 4:59. Exactly. It's not 6, not 5 o'clock yet. So then 5 o'clock would hit, I'd stop, and I'd take a 20-minute break to eat dinner, and then I'd come back and hit it again, and like whatever. So it was just incessant, nonstop practicing. Like we were saying on the phone, people would call and I'd be playing, and I'd be in the bathroom and I'm playing, and
that's awesome.
Never stop, man, never stop. Yeah. And by the time the end of high school was there, and then of course the beginning of Berkeley for a couple of years, I was probably playing like, I don't know, at least about 10, sometimes 15 hours a day.
Yeah. Dude, that was, I know.
I know you can relate because
I can, and speaking of that, it's like, man, honestly, dude, we couldn't have been brought into the guitar world at a better time.
Oh, it was beautiful, dude.
It was just like the heyday. It was all new, fresh, and exciting territory.
Totally different time.
And I was just like you, thinking, oh, this guy's practicing this many hours a day, and then looking at all the guys in Varney's spotlight column, and some of those dudes that were practicing these hours, and I was like, oh man, if I'm going to even catch up, I got to do double that.
Yeah,
that was my thought. I got to do that and then some, because those guys are still practicing too.
Yeah, sure.
So they're getting better every day, and I got to try to catch up.
I didn't feel like I was as good as those guys.
Right, exactly.
I'm like, I don't have half that talent, so I got to like double this whole thing up.
Exactly, man. I set like stupid goals on me. It's like when I started playing guitar at 15 and discovered Randy Rhoads, it's like, okay, Randy had albums out with Quiet Riot when he was like 19. Okay, I got to have an album out in 2 years. I just started playing guitar, right? It's unrealistic, but just, crazy shit like that. And it was like when I was in high school, I would come home from school every day and I would play guitar. And that was pretty much it. And when I graduated from high school, You know, it was like, get up in the morning. I went to college for a little while, and I only did it because my counselors convinced me to. It's like, I wanted to go to GIT, and I didn't want to go study history, and I don't want to do all that bullshit. I didn't want math, English. I don't want that shit. I just want to play guitar. Yeah. Anyway, they convinced me to go, and I went for a few semesters, or about a year and a half or something like that. But at the time, it was like, you know, got up, went to school, you know, college, and I would come home, have a few hours of practice, then I'd go to work and teach, because I was already teaching then. And then after I got done teaching, it was like, then go to rehearsal, you know, with my band. And it got to a point where it was like, you know, I was also teaching at 2 guitar shops at the time, and I was going to school 12 hours, and I was working at a record shop 2 days a week and practicing guitar. And it was like, I got to a point where it was just like burnout. It's like, okay, what do I want to really do with my life? Yeah. And I said, well, I want to play guitar. So I dropped college. I took all my students, consolidated them to one store, and quit the record shop, and then the rest is history. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just never looked back. So during those times, I was literally practicing guitar from the time I got up, and went in and taught, and was playing guitar, and then went to rehearsals, playing guitar. You know, it all adds up. I mean, teaching while you're teaching is not really practicing, but it's making you sharper. Yeah. You know what I mean, teaching has done so much for me mentally. Yep. You know, when I used to challenge myself in every lesson, as you know, so that I was learning too. Yep. For example, when I first started writing out keys, like you take a 24 fret neck diagram, right? Mm-hmm. And you write it out. I started doing that by writing out one string at a time, because it's easy to write out a scale in a straight line, right? But over time, I went to writing out one fret at a time. So I'd go first fret in whatever key, and I'd write the first fret out, second fret. So I'd write out one fret at a time, you know, across, instead of going up a straight line, you know, and just doing stuff like that helped me with fretboard visualization, because I'd never have I wouldn't allow myself to have the guitar in my hands when I was doing this. You know, so I had to really know it and think it and see the fretboard and force the fretboard visualization part of it. So I would do stuff like that, and it's done wonders. Or it did wonders, at least I think, you know, helping me be able to see better, that's for sure. And if I couldn't sleep at night, I used to run scales in my head. I'd run 3-octave modes and shit. You know, I'd lay in bed and think. I'd do it 2 ways. I'd do it with fret numbers, or I would do it with actual pitches, and I'd do it with a sequence too. It's like, no wonder why I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I think that's something that is underappreciated, is the amount of time it does take to dedicate that stuff to memory. You know, it's not, I think a lot of times it's, okay, I just did it once, and then they stop, and then they kind of stare at you, and you're like, well, keep doing it. Like a little bit, you know, I mean, it's not like maybe tomorrow you can do it more, but you're not going to get this major scale done in one session. It's not going to happen.
Repetitive,
Yeah, it's like you got to loop it, man. Make a loop out of it. So they'll play it one time, or just play it ascending. It's like, why aren't you playing anymore? Do it again. I'll tell you when to stop. How about this? Yeah. You play until I say stop, you know? Yeah.
I'll be back in a half an hour.
Yes, exactly. So.
And I don't want to hear you stop.
That's right. I'll walk out of the room sometimes, and I'll come back and it's like, why did you stop? I didn't hear you playing. Or I'll yell from the other room, dude, why aren't you playing?
Yeah. Keep
okay,
playing,
so another funny story about my dad is I would be in there practicing. I remember I was practicing how to sweep pick. And I was doing, it was from Megadeth, the Hangar 18, just that little D minor.
Yep.
Just kind of messing with it. The problem was that I was really good at the downward one, but then when you go up, so I was doing it like that, like real choppy, and then slow, and then fast, and then slow. And I didn't know my dad was in the other room listening to me. And I think, like, looking back, he was probably just getting red in the face about how shitty it sounded. Because, you know, you want everything to be consistent. And, like, I just kept doing it. And he was like, what the fuck are you doing?
He's out there with, like, his TV and a revolver and a can of beer. And he's like, I can only take this for so much longer.
Yeah, he's like, you do that one more time. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, I'm just practicing. He's like, that's not how you do it. And he didn't even have to be in the room to know I was fucking it up.
Oh man.
And then he came in the room and he's like, look, you have to, he like took the guitar out of my hands and he's like, you got to do it at the same pace all the way through to get that consistency. And I was like, okay. And then he hands the guitar back and I just kind of like set it down. And I was like, I don't want to play anymore. And he was like, pick the fucking guitar up. And I'm like, oh. Dude, it was so brutal.
We gotta have your dad on the show, bro. We gotta get your dad on the show for an episode.
He'll be like, oh, hell, that didn't happen. I look like an asshole.
Rusty, you'll be the therapist, and then you'll be Zakk and his dad.
There you go. Yeah. Sort of like, now, how does that make you feel? You know,
my dad be like, shut the fuck up about feelings, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
My dad's been watching a lot of Cobra Kai lately.
Yeah.
And he's just been like it's really weird. He's so revelational right now. He'll like text me like, I was kind of hard on you guys when you were younger. I feel bad about it. And I'm like, what?
Now,
Wow,
so weird.
Yeah, that's a heavy story.
so you know that show he's talking about, Cobra Kai?
Yeah, I do.
Well, so then you know who Johnny is, I guess, right?
Yeah, of course.
So Zakk compares me to Johnny and my disconnect with how social media works nowadays. Tell him the story.
Well, okay, so you know that did you watch the show or you just know of it?
I've seen, I think about a season and a half.
So the first season when he gets his own, the dojo, and they were going to make a promotional video for him.
Yeah.
And then so they're like punching stuff, and then he's in there. He's like, "Don't be a pussy, learn karate." And to me, that's Rusty in general. Like shut the fuck up and play guitar. But and then he's like, "I like it. Throw it up on the internet. Put some hash browns on it."
Yeah.
Like hashtags, right? And I just, for whatever reason, when I was watching it, my wife and I just looked at each other, and she was like, "I like that's Rusty right there."
Yeah.
Like so amazing at what you do, but
I hate to say I can resonate with that, but
it's just hilarious. But you're right, man. I mean, you gotta practice things over and over and over again, no stopping. Yeah. And the fact that they stop, you can kind of tell. I think maybe sometimes, not all the times. You'll be surprised. I think every now and again, but you'll know the ones that are going to keep doing it forever. And you kind of can tell the ones that are there to kind of just do it. I've got a student who Rusty's sending him a signed poster, which is really cool. I showed him that video you made yesterday.
Oh, cool.
He made a video. I videoed him signing this poster for my student. And he was like, dude, he was super stoked, and he says thank you. But it's like this kid, he's changed his whole life since he started guitar. He was 14, didn't have any goals, didn't give a shit about anything, and he was getting F's and D's in school. And then he started taking guitar with me, and then he starts getting really good at it. And he's like, hey, maybe I'm, because sometimes life kind of makes you feel like you're not good at anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find something, and that's probably where a lot of, us three specifically is like, this is what I'm meant to kind of do for whatever reason. It's what I feel. And it could have been, it could have been motocross for you, or it could have been anything else, but this was the thing. And now he's got A's and B's. He's got a job. He pays for his own guitar lessons now with the little bit of money he makes. And that's what he says he wants to do. And it's like right there, dude, that you change one person's life. He could have maybe turned out to be kind of, a piece of shit, F and D school, didn't care and drop out and do drugs, so it's kind of cool, man.
Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah, it's a great story. And I mean, I think that's definitely a big motivation for teaching,
Yeah. And I think a lot, like a lot of kids or just with, just like if you check the three of us, right? I think with our mindset and the way we're wired, I think no matter what we would have decided to do, we'd be the same way with whatever that might have been. You know what I mean?
Probably.
If I would have decided to be, continued racing dirt bikes, I would have continued that same intensity. I don't really know how to do anything any other way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me to even just like sit back and watch TV.
Dude, I was going to be a magician.
Oh, that's right, dude. Fucking all your magic skills, bro.
You are, man.
Hey, I was going to be a magician, and then and my dad, of course, was the one who was like, no, that's gay.
Go get your guitar, Zakk.
Yeah, he was like, don't do that.
Go practice.
Yeah. And then, of course, like I start solving like Rubik's Cubes and stuff just to give myself things to do. And because it's a puzzle. I like puzzles, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But he was like, what are you spending your money on stupid Rubik's Cubes for?
Go play your guitar.
But I learned, but that same mindset you're talking about, Rusty, where no matter what it was that we're going to do, it's 0 to 100. That's it. There is no other way. Like if I'm going to get up off this couch, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And it's going to be great. And I solved a Rubik's Cube on my first day learning how to do it because I wanted to. And I literally shut everything else out for the whole day.
Yeah, that wasn't me. It took me.
You didn't have that?
I didn't solve that thing.
Well, not the Rubik's Cube. I just mean in general with life.
I might have done it once or twice, but it took like a couple of weeks to messing with it and going, I'll pick it up later. And,
Yeah, I think I saw one at one point. But
Yeah. But so... Just another kind of question, generalization on practicing. For me, it was like over the last few years, I got on this kind of obsession where I wanted to find out what like Paganini or Liszt or Chopin or those guys practice like, and I was like scouring the internet in hopes of finding a practice schedule, which never happened. But have you guys ever sought out any other kind of practicing information or literature or just different ways to approach it, or talking to other guitar players and seeing how they do it or other musicians? Or you just always kind of done your own thing, not really thought too much about it?
Well, I think, like my first teacher really kind of got me molded into a direction, at least,
Right.
His name was Tony Jamflone, and
I know that name.
yeah, he's got his son actually is kind of out there doing a bunch of stuff. Tony Jamflone Jr. Both of those guys are just fantastic players and teachers, and Tony Sr. I mean, really, he's my teacher for the first couple of years, or whatever. Really kind of mentored me and got me into a direction or whatever. But then I started the sneak practicing and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of had this hybrid system of like, okay, I do what Tony wants. He's got me going in this direction, hit me to some good stuff, But at the same time, like I just was voracious about everything. Yeah. So like I was saying before, for my practice schedule and all that kind of stuff, I think a lot of it really developed just because of the mindset that we're talking about, where you have this real sort of disciplined thing, and the goal is like right here, and like even just pick a technique, pick anything like with alternate picking or something. At first, you can't even whatever. Right. And I would hear these guys play this stuff or whatever. Everybody asks me, they'll say like, like when you pick, do you hold your fingers like really super close? Make sure that they're close to the strings. Do you hold your pick in a certain direction? Like whatever it is. And my answer is always like, I didn't really know for a long time, because it wasn't about the actual, like, I'm thinking about this thing. I was thinking about this thing. Like, yes. I want to play that game today. I want to do this. Yes. And so that sound was in my head, and I would just play. And then out of necessity, I just started to devise all these things, like I said, with the clock, and scheduling my time and making sure that I always practice this amount of time. I mean, I can tell you stories like, and I'm sure you guys have some too, but I literally was like, there were times when I was literally like sick as a dog, like throwing up, and I'd run upstairs and I would like, like all over Ralph all over the toilet or whatever. And I come back downstairs and I'm like, like whatever, I keep practicing. Or else, like we would go on vacation, my parents and I'd be in the back seat of the car with a metronome and my guitar, like bouncing around, like on a highway, trying to like, like pick and do my technique and all that kind of stuff. Looking back, it was probably, there's some deep psychological trauma there or something.
Right. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So, that's a lot of practicing for sure, man. I forgot what I was going to say. Your story.
Practicing schedules and
yes.
And
so I always use, and I still have them, timer.
Yeah.
Just everything's 5 minutes. I did 5 minute drills on everything. Just nonstop. And it's like, I try to tell my students that it's like, okay, when the timer goes off, you just reach over and click it and go right back get right to the next exercise. When you're practicing, it's just advice, maybe for younger guitar players or people that are trying to figure things out. Oh wait, I remember what I was going to say. Picking. You were talking about picking a second ago. Mm-hmm. It's like, it sounds like we had kind of a similar thing. When I was learning how to pick, I wasn't thinking about all those things that like our students ask.
Yeah.
How are you holding the pick, and what is its relationship to the string? Is it upward or downward pick slanting? It's like, I didn't even know any of that stuff existed.
Yeah.
I taught myself through Metal Method, and from there it was the rest of the way, it was just books and stuff. And, there was no YouTube, and you can't just get online and watch your favorite guitar players break it down for you. It was me and some books, a cassette, and that's it. No,
Back in my day.
Exactly. We used to walk uphill both ways.
Around our belt and
exactly.
Go down to Shelbyville.
Yeah. Yeah. In Biloxi, Mississippi. No. Yeah, it was just like, it's weird that I don't really understand the psychology behind it, but it's like, I never thought about all that stuff, and I don't know if students that are coming in, there's so much information out there that they can't help find out all this stuff, and then they think it has something significant to do with their playing. It's really not that. As you know, I've watched all the fastest pickers in the world, and they all hold their pick a little bit differently.
Everybody's different, man.
And they all end up, the really badass guys, they all end up with the same result, playing fast if that's what you desire.
Yep.
And it's all done differently,
Yeah.
Everybody's different, so it's really like there's just a couple of things that I tell everybody to keep in mind. It's like, well, when you're picking, you want to hold it close to the tip.
Yep.
Only move it enough to cross the strings. And I don't think too much of it beyond that. I was hanging out with Petrucci one night, and I discovered something that I didn't even know I did, that he discovered while I was playing. We were sitting backstage after one of his concerts when they were in Houston, and I was sitting there picking. We weren't even on amps. We were just sitting there, and I was picking something fast, and he's like, "What is that you're doing with your arm right there?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" "I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Well, play fast again." So And in that moment, he's like, right there, your arm's popping up. So at that moment, I discovered something about my playing. When I'm picking really fast, I engage this muscle right here.
Yeah.
Where it kicks in.
Yeah.
And when I'm doing any other speed, it's not like that.
It's different. Yeah.
So I didn't even know that I did that, and I didn't know that anybody else didn't do that.
And that's the thing too. That's interesting because when you play at different speeds, you use different muscles, and the technique even starts to change a little bit too. So when somebody asks you like, how do you alternate pick? I mean, if I'm alternate picking, like literally, if I'm alternate picking at like that level or something, I actually take my pick and I put it to the side so that I get.
What do you show me that again?
So I actually take the pick like.
So you're holding it like more like this?
So that it's sort of like, I don't know, see if I can actually get to the camera here like this. So the pick itself
I see.
Slices across the string like that, just because it produces sort of a, like a thicker kind of sound. Obviously that's not going to work if you're really, blowing it a lot faster than that. Right. But I mean, that's the pick. And then as it starts to change, to something faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing. Like if I don't know if I can. If I'm going a little bit faster, or whatever.
I think you're doing that same thing that I do with the muscle.
I think
up there.
I am.
Yeah.
So like my arm engages a little bit more, than something else, as opposed to sweeping if I'm doing.
Yeah. Right. Because it doesn't really do that when I sweep at all. It's more relaxed. Not that it's not relaxed when I'm alternate picking fast, but it's like It's hard to explain because a lot of guitar players are like, well, you're supposed to pick from your elbow or you're supposed to pick from your wrist or whatever, and it's like, when I'm picking really fast, a lot of times it looks like I'm picking from my elbow, but it's not. It's because your eye focuses in on where you see movement, and what you don't see as much as there's still wrist movement.
There's still some.
Even though my muscle here is engaged and it looks like that's where it's coming from, but it's not that exclusive. So, for lack of a better understanding or able to see it at that speed, it's to me it's a combination of maybe both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And also for me, when I pick super fast, I pick way back here because the tension on the string's tighter here. I'll tell my students it's like, dude, grab your string right here and pull it floor to ceiling and feel how loose that is. Then grab it right here and do floor to ceiling.
There's less rebound to the actual.
Right, and I play. My guitars are tuned down a half step, and I still play with nines, so they're a little slinky, right? So for me to come back here. It's all tension. You know what I mean? So that works out for me, and that is not something I ever set out to do. It's something that just happened. Yeah. If a student would have asked me, well, how do you pick? I wouldn't have, now I know through analysis and having things pointed out to me, like, hanging out with Petrucci. What is that, dude? I don't know. What is it? You tell me.
I think that's that's kind of an interesting question, or maybe something to address at some point during our discussion or whatever. But I know that, because I talk about this all the time with other guitar players, like how people grew up in say like the 80s, and like how we actually learned the guitar and the mentality of that kind of thing, and versus like we were saying earlier. Like Zakk was saying, he grew up with like the beginning of YouTube. Yeah. And I hear a big difference in the different generations of players, let's say. Mm-hmm. In terms of like I think personally, like I think that like when you grow up and you have to struggle to actually like figure out what the hell's going on in an album. Mm-hmm. And I think actually George Lynch said something to this point, but like when you figure it out, you never maybe figure it out quite exactly the way that it is, and you kind of start putting your own thing in there, and then before you know it, you have this sort of like weird thing where you're creating your own style almost, or your own voice on the instrument.
Absolutely.
Which to me, I think is the most important thing. For sure.
And that's what I was going to say. In that is sometimes it's better to not have the answer to the question. You have to search a little bit for yourself. What works for you? Rusty's 5'8". This other guy might be 6'2". How you hold the pick and how you put your hand on the board isn't going to be the same. No. It's just not, and it's not. And I think that's why I really love George Lynch's playing in general. Not just because he's a killer player, but nobody sounds like him. Yeah. And I guarantee it's because nobody sat there and said, hold your pick this way and do it this way. This is the only way to do the scale. He went, fuck all that. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah. You just figured stuff out.
Yeah. And Rusty, you're kind of the same way because you taught yourself through the metal method stuff, but really probably 90% of it was you took it and then you went, all right, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to check this out and get this figured out. Yeah. You didn't have somebody tell you that it's right or wrong.
Right.
And then you went, I want to hear this faster. because nobody's doing it. Because then in your head, you'd go, well, if nobody's doing it, it's not possible. But to you, you went, well, if nobody's doing it, then I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
And then you went, I don't care how I have to get it done. If I got to flex my arm or if I got to bring it back, your mind naturally forced you to approach it differently. And that's why you are where you are.
Yeah, I that was never part of my vocabulary. I can't. It was always I can't wait until. You know what I mean? It's like, but you know what we were talking about with, like you said, who brought up George Lynch? You, Terry?
Yeah, I think so.
I saw an interview with Jakey Lee, and he talked about almost the same thing. He was talking about when I was a kid, we were playing guitar like once a month. Me and like 3 other guitar players from different towns would get together. And we'd all play the same songs, and we'd all learned it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Because you can't get on the internet and learn from that one guy everything he does, and everybody's learning from the same source. That takes away originality. Everybody sounds the same.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, and the thing now is like if you want to learn a Paul Gilbert lick or something, I mean, you go to YouTube and Paul's actually there. Yeah. Like the man himself, and he's like, here's what I did, and you're like, oh, okay, So there's a lot of this sort of like you see it, you replicate it, and then you try to do it faster, or you try to do whatever, But the thing that I mean, whatever personal opinion, is that there's a lot of guys that play really, really well. That are really, really fast. They can do Paul Gilbert, and they can do this thing, and they can do that thing. But I don't really hear the voice, man. Like from those cats in the '80s, like George Lynch, and I mean everybody,
They're very identifiable.
I mean, it's so strong. The voice is so strong.
Yeah. It's like, for me, it's like, man, if I hear another guy play sweep arpeggios or whatever, it's just like I don't even care. Yeah. I don't. It's just like let me hear something. Let me hear you. I don't care if you can play fast. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, it's like, what are you saying with it? Where's your voice? Let me hear you.
Absolutely.
There's several guitar players out there in the music industry that, I'm not going to mention any names, but it's like they do the hired gun thing, and it's like, I don't ever hear them play. I mean, I hear a guitar player that's got good chops and whatever, but I don't ever hear that person's voice. It's
I mean, unless you're doing a session for some specific thing, like I kind of feel like, why would any grown man want to like sound like any other person?
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get that either, man. So
but it's all good, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I appreciate the talent. I appreciate the people's talent, the ability to play that. I mean, they're faster than me, man. So like physicality, I'm just like, damn.
Yeah, but it's like, at what point does that become trivial? It's like, again, it's back to what are you doing with it? Like, great, you can play fast. Man. Great, you can train a monkey to change a tire on a car.
It has to mean, if you play fast, it has to mean something. Right. So did it ever completely baffle you when people would say that Yngwie has no feeling? Yeah, absolutely, man. And to that point, I'm absolutely certain that you guys have gotten the commentary about like playing fast guitar and about how it's not soulful and all this other kind of stuff. And you brought up motocross, and I'll say something really quick that my students ask me about, like whether motion and fast and blah blah. I'm like, there are no fast guitar players or slow guitar players. I mean, you just play however you feel like you need to play. And for me, I was trying to articulate it to a student one day, and I'm like, why do I do this? Why am I into this? And I thought, when I was a kid and I did BMX and everything, like we used to, make these crazy jumps and quarter-pipes and like whatever. And we'd get to the top of the hill and we would go as fast as we possibly could, nail this thing, go 10 feet into the air, try to do the coolest like tabletop or whatever. Yep. The entire experience of that was like so emotional, like in a really like exhilarating kind of way, like, happiness, joy, like, I mean, there's so many different emotions like mixed up in that one moment. And freedom is the best thing I can say. Like you're 10 feet in the air and you just feel like free. Yeah. And so, not that guitar playing needs to be, a sport like that or whatever, because it's not, but there's a certain amount of that for me with when you go into that mode of you're going to play like a faster thing or whatever, that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like, like I'm a robot and I'm going to play this fast, like or whatever. Yeah. It feels like freedom. And it feels like that same experience of just, trying to hit something and then the joy or agony of defeat when you kind of remember that old thing they used to play in before sports on the weekend? Sure, yeah. Gorilla Victory or Agony of Defeat or something like that. And you see that guy coming down all eating it on skis and shit. That was a rough thing, man. Every Saturday or whatever it was. But man, I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly the way I feel about it. It's like it almost makes me feel like, well, why do I play this like this? Why do I gravitate towards this style of music? And it's like, well, I used to race dirt bikes, I used to race bikes, did all this skateboarding stuff. I mean, not as much skateboarding, but we had trick ramps out in the backyard. We'd go and hijack the pool at the neighborhood and
set up ramps and jump our bikes into the pool and stuff. And I think maybe it's just an adrenaline thing. You know what I mean?
I think it is, man. And it's like I said, just joy and freedom are the two things.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's just wired in your DNA. I can't. I don't know. It's just who I am. It's just what I do. You know what I mean? I didn't really pick this thing. It just kind of picked me.
Yeah.
Right. I would say think of how much feeling you have, whether it's being scared, happy, sad, or all these different emotions that come when you step on stage in front of a few thousand people or even 500 people. There's a lot of emotion there. And because you're sitting there going, I practiced all this time for this. So there's like an emotional connection that way. I'm happy because I'm on stage. I'm scared because all these people could watch me fuck up. So to label it down to one emotion because you think it's fast or you think it should be slow, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's like moral to do to somebody who's just being themselves.
It's like I've had people base my entire career off of one lick of one lesson that I did somewhere online.
Yeah.
And from that one lick, they deduced that I can't play I can't play slow, I can't bend, I can't vibrato, I can't write songs. It's like, wow, you got all that from that one lick?
Sure.
It's like,
and who's the judge, man? Like what are they, like the emotion police or something?
Right, exactly.
You're not emotional about when you play that speed. I mean, forget it. You go past 120 BPM on the metronome, and that's it. You're
you're in the no feel zone.
You're in monster zone right there, boy.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't normally jump in on posts and shit that people say about me. It's just I'll read it and move on. I don't. You just don't engage in it generally.
Right.
Because that's what they want. They're trying to get under your skin. But every now and then I'll say a few words. It'll just hit me the right way, the right day, and I'll have to let loose a little bit. Sure. And so somebody was saying something about feelings, and I said, look, man, go grab a box of tissue and hang out with your grandma or your mom and watch Steel Magnolias. And when you're ready to fucking hang out, I'll be in the fucking gym, dude. Come out and hang out with the men. Go get your cry out and talk about your emotions and feelings, and then come on and hang out with the boys.
Yeah.
Get that shit all out before you come out here. Yeah. You want to whine about feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, Dad.
Yeah.
Don't make me bang your head against the piano either, because
that's right. But I mean, it's like sometimes like, come on, man. I mean, there is no way in hell that any one of us or anybody else that plays with any kind of technical ability plays this way without having emotions or feelings. Yeah. It's that motion and feeling that drives us to play the way we do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I think the cats like you guys, and of course other players that we've mentioned already, and other people that play, let's say, in the style or whatever. I mean, I think that they hit the mark. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that they just, it is a practice thing for them, and they really are just trying to whatever. But part of that is emotional too. I mean, they're trying to do something. They're emotional about trying to get this thing right or whatever. You're
passionate about what you do. But
when you get to the point of like you guys or like whoever pick Ingbe, like you were saying before. I mean, I don't hear any lack of emotion in that guy's playing. Dude. I mean, I hear absolutely 1,000%.
Yeah, that's gut wrenching, man, dude.
I had a story that I was telling Rusty a while back about this. I won't mention the name of anybody, but I had somebody that I was, a student of mine like before, where he likes a certain guitar player, and I like the guitar player too, but he's really into this guy, and that's fine. That's your style. That's what you like, and I'm not going to tell you that guitar player. But I don't know if maybe I was having a bad day or what, but he came in and we were talking about this guitar player, and he was all he wanted to learn this lick from the guitar. So I listened to it one time, and I went, I know exactly what he's doing. Because it's a classic A minor type lick. And I was like, I've heard it a million times, and I think I can show you. And I did it right there on the spot. First time through, didn't even have to practice it. Yeah. And of course, at first he was like, wow, that was amazing. Like, I've been sitting here for 30 years listening to this lick, and you learned it in 1 second. And so long story short, at the end of this conversation, he went, well, I instead of saying, I really love this guy's playing, I mean, the shreddy stuff that you do, I appreciate, but it's just not for me. He went and said, well, this guy actually has emotion in his playing. You're just kind of like, you just hit notes, and that's like totally different than what this guy does. And I just went, wait, I was like, wait, what?
What did you just say? And
he was like, I mean, you don't have any and he tried to backtrack, but he made it worse. Yeah. He was like, I mean, you just don't have any passion in your playing. Like, it's more just like, you're just kind of robotically moving through the notes. And then I was like, it threw me, because like no one's ever been that blunt about it to my face.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I said, man, I don't think I could disagree with you more. I was like, and then of course, like now I'm upset.
Yeah.
Like, cause
You're probably sweating a little bit too, right?
Oh dude, I was sweating.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, and the analogy that I use is like, you have a wife and kids, right? And it'd be like if somebody came up to you and said, you don't love your wife like I do because I take her out twice a week and you only take her out once a week. And you're like, what the fuck does that, like, you don't know anything about that relationship or what I've put into it or what we've done together. Yeah. And I'm getting like goosebumps about it because I'm that, again, passionate about the situation where I'm like, dude.
But you don't have any emotion, so.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah. I'm getting emotional right fucking now.
Yeah, don't get the goosebumps because, you wouldn't want to get, cats out of the bag now.
Yeah. And of course, later on, he did apologize to me. Like, he was like, I didn't mean to say it that way. And I was like, I get what you mean. I was like, but you got to be careful who you say these things to.
Yeah. It can get personal real quick.
My whole life is based around this thing, and you're telling me I don't have passion on it, and that's harsh.
Yeah.
And you've known me for 3 months.
Yeah. No, it's. I tell you, man, it's tough. When you play that certain style. I mean, obviously, I think that it's it's obtrusive, right? Because you're out there and you're doing all this stuff, and it's really crazy and whatever. I think that's I hate to say it, but I think that in some instances it's almost like inspires some semblance of fear in people. Like they're afraid because they can't either maybe do it or they didn't put the effort in or something. That's not everybody, because believe me, there are plenty of people that play 2 notes and it actually is fantastic. It's not like, again, it's not about the fast thing or the slow thing.
Right. It's just
but a lot of the people that hate on it, I think, I guess, are people that
And I don't understand why there's not room for everything, because that always blew me away as a kid. It's like, I like all this stuff, but then my friends only like this stuff.
Yeah.
If it's not this, it's not cool. It's like, man, I don't get that. What's the deal? I like this and that. And it's like, I think when you play the way we do in a rock or metal setting, I think it gets a bad rap a lot of times. It's like, well, if you take somebody like, you take a great country guitar player, or you take Demiola, or maybe some acoustic guitar players that play just as virtuosic of music or playing, but it's in a different format. So then that's cool, that's acceptable. But if you play like that in a rock guitar setting or whatever, that's just no feeling. It's blah blah. It's a bunch of noise. You guys ever thought about that before?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just kind of weird to me.
Well, the perfect example today was, I had my lesson with Johnny Hyland today. Mm-hmm. And Johnny Hyland, right, Terry?
I've heard the name, yeah. I know.
Yeah,
country guy.
Amazing chicken picking guitar player, man. He's a shredder in his own right. He was in G3.
Sure.
And, so I took lessons with him, and he was telling me, he's like, man, I wish I would have kept shredding because I would have probably been down that road of you and Rusty and this and that. And I was like, yeah, but it wasn't what you wanted to do, and you really gravitated more towards the country guitar stuff. What's wrong with that? Because now and I said, because now you've got a Rusty Cooley and a Johnny Hyland, not 2 Rusty Cooleys or 2 Johnny Hylands. You've got all this beautiful mixture of sounds. And I was like, and neither, in his right, he's just as good as Rusty is at what he does.
So look, I wanted to talk to you real quick about some guitar workshop stories.
Yes.
So now this one might not be funny, or it might be, but maybe it's a little serious. Tell me the story about Marty Friedman, when you jammed with Marty Friedman.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this story.
The Marty Friedman story, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
This will make a really great clip for sure for everybody.
So Marty, of course, was a hero of mine. Throughout my high school.
Yeah, you were a Friedman guy, not a Becker guy necessarily, right?
I know
you liked both, but
I like both of them, man. I think both of them, and God bless Jason, man.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, I admire that cat in so many ways. Beyond the guitar, that's a whole other discussion. Yeah. Marty, was definitely I wouldn't say like a huge influence, but definitely somebody that I really, really looked up to and was like, oh man, that guy's like amazing, and that kind of stuff. So, at the guitar workshop, I don't know if your listeners know the place or not, but was a place that every summer for like 6 weeks or so, we would teach, and Rusty and I taught there, of course, and a bunch of other really amazing teachers, and we would always have guest artists come in, and I think it was really kind of the first of its kind.
I think so. I actually went to the guitar workshop as a student. I went there when I was I was in high school when I went there. I went for a week, and then to actually be in a position to go back there and get hired to teach where I went, it was like so cool to me. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they'd have these big name guys come in every week, big name guitar players. Yeah. And Marty was definitely one of them. I think it was probably around like 1994.
And that was when, everybody was a heavyweight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no slouches coming into the school.
No, Everybody was, serious business. Greg Howe was there.
Nice.
Paul was there, I think, at some point after that. We had Reb Beach right around that time.
Brett Garsed was there, wasn't he, too?
Brett was there a little bit later. Yeah, he was like, I want to say he was around the early 2000s, maybe later than that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, absolutely killer players. And obviously as a teacher there, it was fantastic to be able to meet these guys. And, we got a chance to play with them and hang out in some instances. We go out to dinner and all that kind of stuff. So Marty, the whole day we sort of got a chance to hang a little bit. I think he did a clinic in the afternoon by himself. We went out to dinner. Super, super nice dude, man. Just like mellowest guy,
Right.
I remember sitting on stage, before we were going to go on and do it, and I used to have this purple and green striped.
Yeah, I remember that thing. You don't have it anymore?
I just sold it.
You did? Oh, dude, that's like plastic,
it.
bro. You can't sell that thing.
Man. I just sold it.
All right.
So, matter of fact, last week I just shipped it out. But
Wow.
So he looks over and he goes, yeah, man, it's all about shape. And I was like, it's just like a Zen moment, I was like, dude, it is all about shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so at dinner time, he goes, we're trying to figure out like what we want to play. And he says, I'm like, what do you want to do tonight, Marty? It's all up to you, whatever. I want to do like a clean channel, just everything clean channel, man. Just like a real chill, kind of situation. I'm like, okay, great. Sounds perfect. We won't even turn distortion on, whatever. As fate would have it, we had Joe Bouchard on bass, who was also a teacher at the workshop, who played bass in Blue Oyster Cult. Marty was a huge Blue Oyster Cult guy, so those guys were like, whatever. So we're really excited to play, whatever. And I'm up there for, I think I did three songs or whatever. We do Godzilla. That's one of the tunes. Mm-hmm. Marty says, in the middle of Godzilla, let's do like a little breakdown. Just a breakdown thing, because they have a sort of a breakdown that they used to do live, I think, with Blue Oyster Cult or whatever. So, okay, great. But we're going to chill out. We're just going to chill and have a good time or whatever. So, tune starts, we go, whatever, we're just chilling. Of course we're playing with distortion because we're playing the actual tune or whatever. Right. Breakdown comes in, and I'm thinking, okay, whatever. And so Marty, he does this thing. He wants to trade, and I'm like, I don't want to go there, man. But he says we're gonna do clean channel. We're gonna do mellow. Awesome. All right, mellow, perfect. So he starts and he's kind of doing his, the Marty. Yeah. And I'm just thinking like, God, that's Marty Friedman. That sounds so freaking great, Yeah. And then he's like, now you go. And I'm like, okay. And so, long story short, it just sort of escalates in a completely friendly, I have to say, not any like gunslinger, like, well, I'm going to do this and you're going to do that or whatever. Yeah. But it's almost like, one guy just sort of prompted the other guy. And before you know it, he's like laying it on, man. And I was like, holy crap, so I got to step it up, so I just like we were saying before, that mentality just kicks in, and I'm like, I gotta like, it's 0 to 60 right now. So I don't even remember what I played. I just went for it. Marty stops, turns the guitar off, laughs, puts his guitar down on stage, and he walks off. Man, and the band's still playing, and I was like, shit, like I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like I didn't, was I horrible, or was he insulted, or was I a douchebag because I'm like, trying to kind of go back and forth or whatever. So he comes back out on stage, and he's like looking, he's smiling at me. He comes over, he like shakes my hand, and he's like, dude, that's fucking awesome, whatever. And I'm like, holy shit, thank you so much, whatever. And then he gets down on stage and he starts doing this, Wow. It was definitely one of the best nights of my life. However, let me just put that so that people don't think I'm a complete narcissist in saying that I think it was all just in good fun. Like he was impressed, whatever, which I'm thankful for, but it wasn't like, oh man, you blew Marty Friedman away, because you don't blow Marty Friedman away.
Right, yeah.
Fucking amazing.
But you did make him want to put his guitar down.
He put his guitar down, and he came back and played the national anthem, and that was it. And then we were done with the tune or whatever. But it was definitely one of the better nights, I think, of my guitar life, just because he was such a hero, and it just seemed like he felt like he had a good time. He felt like I felt a sense of respect.
And that's just the thing, you can't outdo someone that is who they
No,
are.
man.
You can't outdo any of those guys. I mean, it's like I played on a Sean Lane tribute CD, and I did a version of Epilogue for Lisa, and it's like there is no way in hell I'm going to try to step on his toes.
Yeah.
Do his shit better than him, because that's impossible.
You can't do Sean better than Sean.
So the way I did it is very interesting. I actually, when I recorded this song, I actually had the tab book out, because I had the Warner Brothers book for Sean Lane's Powers of 10, and he had a transcription of Epilogue for Lisa that he played on his electric guitar at GIT and at my concert. So I had his recording playing while I was playing, and I was reading the tab and playing along with it as I recorded it and tried to play it as perfectly note for note with the exact same inflections as he did, and just tried to replicate it as best I could. You know what I mean? And that was it, you know. I've never done that before. I've never played a cover before, ever, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, you just can't.
Well, you got to put your own stamp on it, you know?
Yeah.
Like we were saying before, I mean, it's all about your own voice, man. You know, whether you're doing a cover or not. I mean, I've done a couple of covers. Last album I did a cover of a Pink Floyd tune. And I mean, I love the song, and Floyd's like one of my favorite bands, but
Dude, I love Have a Cigar.
Yeah, that's
Your version of that, dude. Your version of that is like sick.
Oh, you heard it? Yeah, thank you.
Fuck yeah, dude. I got that CD, bro.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate that. But yeah, I didn't want to go anywhere near the original, man, because it's like I just, you know, I wanted to take the spirit of it and do.
And you did. You captured the spirit of it very well, and you did your own thing with it. It's just amazing. That's one of my favorites for sure.
Thank you.
You bet, man. What else was I going to ask you about? Let's see. So, what are you doing now with this new stuff? Is it just a continuation? I know you earlier said it's like, you know, some of your most scariest stuff or intense stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Once I got done with the last CD, it was a vocal album.
And are you talking about Machine Elves?
Yeah, Machine Elves. Okay. I felt like, you know, at the time we were doing that, you know, I kind of started having sort of these ideas about, you know, other things or whatever. I'm sure you guys have the same thing. Like you're working on one thing and you're kind of getting it done, but then all of a sudden you're like looking at the next thing and you're like, well, I can start doing it, you know, writing the next material or whatever. So, so I started just doing these tunes just for the fun of it, because I felt like I needed to do more of an instrumental thing again. And, you know, and this time, like, I was like, you know, why don't I just like really kind of push it a little bit, instead of, because I felt like, you know, the stuff that I've done in the past, I mean, I feel like I really kind of laid back a little bit on some things. You know, I mean, even just the writing I laid back on, I think, you know. And so I felt like I needed to do something different and really kind of push it. And, you know, by the time all the tunes were kind of in place, I was like, well, you know, things just kind of panned out in a weird way with the pandemic and everything. I was like, you know, the one dude in my mind that came to my mind at first to be able to do this thing, to really give it the right spirit, was Marco. And I'm like, I've got to talk to him and see if he can do this thing, because that's going to be the cornerstone.
Yeah, I'd like to do some stuff with Marco.
Fantastic,
He's sick, man, and I
can't even tell you. He did these tunes. You know, they're difficult tunes. I know he plays a lot of difficult stuff or whatever, but I mean, it's more. Let me put it that it's more idiosyncratic than like he couldn't do it or something like that. It's just that it's a bunch of crap of mine. You know what I mean? It's tough for other people to like, you know, get in your head or whatever. And I swear to God, the guy did this stuff in like an entire tune in like a couple hours. I'd send him a track and I'd be like, here's the track. And then like, you know, that night he's like, I got it done.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's amazing. You know, I've got a friend that's with him and Brian Baylor right now. They're doing an album, and he said the same thing. That's how I found. How did I find out you were doing that with? No, I think I found that out from one of our mutual students.
Vaughn.
Vaughn, yeah. Vaughn told me that. And that's when I went, oh yeah, I got another friend that's doing some stuff with them now too.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, man. So this is just your stuff, you're just having them play on it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's not like y'all are writing songs together and nothing like that. Just
no, 100% my thing. And like I said, I wanted, you know, it was kind of a pipe dream, because I mean, I don't really, you know, I'm not like, I'm not on the level of Rusty Cooley, of course.
Oh, dude,
you know,
what are you talking about, bro?
So you know, like nobody knows me, man. Nobody knows who I am. So I knew some people, and I approached him, and I just said, look, you know, here's the thing, and you know, before you say no, let me just send you some demos, and then he got back and he's like, yeah, I love it, let's do it. So
yeah, like, dude, but you can't even say that, man. That, you know, it's just different. You know, different. It's just, you know, it's like anything's different. But now I lost my focus again. I'm getting old, man. I'm having a senior moment.
Totally, dude.
No, you're just getting excited.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what is your take on releasing music nowadays? Because I noticed that you're just always releasing full albums, which that's great. I mean, that's the way I grew up, and that's the way, you know, what I'm used to. Yeah. But I'm finding with the way things are nowadays, it's like everybody has short attention span theater.
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
So
my honest answer is I don't know, and I don't care.
gotcha. You just do your thing and just release it.
At this point in my life, Rusty, I got to be me, I guess is the best way to describe it. And this is going to be a really weird album because it's actually a instrumental album, a concept instrumental album based on the voyage of these little creatures that go on a great big adventure into a magical world. So
that's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it has nothing to do with being a man and being shreddy and being lifting weights and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I think that everybody's going to be scratching their head if nothing else. But
that's cool.
I like immersion, I come from a generation of a lot of the prog rock stuff where you'd put an album on and you would just literally sit there and listen to the whole freaking thing, man. Right. I can't put The Wall on from Pink Floyd and I'm going to put one song on. It's like, no. Yeah. Put The Wall on. This is an event. We're going to sit here. We're going to listen through the whole thing.
That is really a lost art. It's like, I always would tell students, it's like, how can you truly get to know an artist if you're just downloading one song here and there? Yeah. You got to listen to the whole work.
Absolutely, man. So, subsequently, I think everybody's probably going to hate this because it's,
I'll probably like it. If everybody else hates it, I'm sure I'll like it. It's
not like a 2-minute clip of me playing really fast over something and then something, whatever, novelty and then that's it.
When did you say you were going to release it, or do you have a release date?
There's no release date yet, Zakk. Well, we're trying. I mean, this has been such a freaking endeavor. To say the least.
How long have you been working on it?
For about a year at this point.
No shit.
Yeah.
Consistent, hard-working on it?
Pretty much. Marco did stuff super quick. Brian did stuff super quick. We got Mahoney Day in, and she took a little bit of time. And then when I got Lale to do the stuff, it was funny because I actually asked him to do a solo, and he was like, yeah, that's great. And then he came back, and he said, I just went ahead and did the whole song. And I was like, oh, he redid all the arrangements of the keyboards and everything. He's like, fantastic, man. Thank you so much. It sounds perfect. And I'm like, do you think maybe you want to do another one? And then that turned into the whole album. So
wow, that's great, man.
It only took 6 months to do, all that stuff. And then I got in my mind the idea that I was like, I need somebody to narrate this. So, I try to narrate it, but my voice is like, who wants to hear that? So, so I'm playing World of Warcraft one night, and I'm geeking out, with my my level 60 hunter, and on a Noobs in Warsaw Gulch or whatever, and so I go to this one section, and there's an actor, they do voice actors for all the characters or whatever, and there's this one character in there that's just like crazy, he's like, and I'm listening to the voice, I'm like, this is the guy. I'm like, but how do I get a guy from World of Warcraft? He's probably an actor or whatever. So I was like, fucking man, I'll look them up on YouTube, look them up on Facebook. I found his Facebook, I contacted him. I said, I'm doing this thing, basically I described it to the way I just described it to you guys. So I'm interested. So that's
so cool, dude.
That took 5 months because I had to go through the Screen Actors Guild. Because he's actually done some stuff. He was an actor. He did a Batman movie. He did some Transformers. He did all this crap or whatever. So you gotta go by the Screen Actors Guild rules and all this kind of stuff. But for me, trying to figure that out to navigate that.
Oh God.
No idea.
But there's a good lesson there, man. That sometimes all you have to do is ask. And have a little bit of courage to do so, and if you get shot down, so what? Keep moving. But
that's 100% right, Zach.
And that's exactly how I think a lot of people dive into this. Well, if they say no, my whole world's going to be shattered, or I don't know what I'll do. But it's like, man, sometimes just, honestly, that's how a lot of my life is. Where somebody says that they wouldn't do it, and I went, well, then I'm going to do it. Let's just give it a shot and see. And if it fails, it fails. But it's cool. Totally. It's really inspiring. You did that.
A friend of mine that was kind of a mentor for me for a while, he used to always tell me, he said, all you got to do is say 4 words, I need your help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it.
Either
they can help you or they can't, and there's nothing gained. Nothing lost if they don't. And then a lot to gain.
You just try it and see what happens, And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I've been shot down many times.
Dude. I keep all my denial letters and all that shit from different record labels and shit.
Totally, man.
Through the years, I keep it. It's like, it's just a testament to you just got to keep moving, dude. It's just another thing.
And sometimes that denial can push you in the right direction, and maybe it opens up another door.
Well, and I think a lot of what has driven me so hard through the years is just, my family wasn't always the most supportive with guitar playing and stuff like that, and it was that drove me that much harder to say, look, I can do this. I'm gonna do this. You know what I mean? So sometimes that's that motivation. Whereas Zakk's was the opposite. His dad said, you're gonna do this.
Right.
And look what you did. You did it.
Yeah, I guess.
Got his big boy pants on tonight.
I will say the one thing my parents were really great at was telling me that I could do anything. And you'd be surprised at, I mean, again, you got the two separate schools there. You got the people that say, well, you can't do it. And you say, well, fuck you, I'm going to. And then you got the guys that say, I had it where they were like, don't ever let yourself tell you that you can't do anything. Because you literally could do anything that you set your mind to. And I believed it for whatever reason young. And then you actually start building confidence in it because it happens. Like with you, if you would have sat there and went, man, I love that guy's voice. I'd love to have him on my album. And then you went, well, nobody knows who I am. Nobody wants to talk to me. Who am I to ask this guy? And then you talk yourself out of it. Then you never get what you want. Yeah. Or again, like you maybe you ask him and he says, hey man, I can't, or this is why I can't, but you know what? I got this other guy who is equally as good and he's free, and you go, it worked out. Yeah.
There's a meme that I've seen going around that is basically like for musicians. It says something about like, it's like a diagram of like circles, that sort of intersect like this. And it says,
a Venn diagram.
Yeah, crippling self-doubt and narcissism. And it's sort of like in between is like where you live. You have to be somewhat narcissistic because you're putting yourself out there and you're doing your thing or whatever. But then there's that other side, like you're talking about where I hasten to say that probably a lot of us, I can say myself, definitely have some mental health struggles. Trying to be positive and
dude, you can't do this without it. I mean, it's not easy, at all.
You feel like you can't contact the guy, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, and whatever. And it's funny because to that point, when I was going to contact Keith, the voice actor, I'm sitting there like on my keyboard. I'm like, I can't do this. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do this. And I just got an email from Marco, and he was like, hey, dude, I just wanted to know how things are going, and blah, blah. And I was like, Marco, email me. I'm cool. So I'm gonna talk to Keith. I'm all right. I'm a good guy. I can talk to Keith now. That like motivated me to do it. So
yeah, that's awesome, dude.
Well, you know what? On that same note, the reason that Rusty and I even made this show was very serendipitous. Yeah. I had saw that he was, because of COVID, he was like pushing for more lessons. I saw he posted something on his Facebook. He had some openings, and I just went, I mean, I don't know, maybe I should take lessons from him, or at least, maybe I don't need lessons, but I need to know about the shit he knows. There's so much information there, and I thought for sure he'd just look at my email and then just move on to somebody else or whatever. Not because you're an asshole, but just maybe you didn't, maybe you filled up that fast. I don't know, but I put it out there, and he said, "Hey man, let's do this." And then so I paid for it. We did our first couple lessons, and it worked out really well. And then I don't know, I don't remember how it went, but I had an idea, and my wife was like, well, maybe you should have Rusty help you. And I was like, nah, he's not going to want to help me.
Well, you took a few lessons and then you had to take some time off because you got busy or something. I don't remember what it was.
We moved into the new studio, and I had, I had about 10 grand worth of payments I had to put towards getting a sign and shit.
Right. And then you contacted me again. I don't know if it was to have another lesson or just to talk about something.
Well, no. Remember, we haven't even done it, but we were going to I had an idea to do like a little kind of guitar competition where I was going to donate $500 to somebody who won it.
Right.
And I wanted you to judge it. We still haven't done that, but look at that. That was the idea that got me to talk to him. And I said, hey man, do you have any time to chat? I just need like 15 minutes of your time. Yeah. Didn't think he'd probably message me back, but he did. And he said, hey man, give me like 30 minutes. Yeah. And then we talked for like 3 hours that night. And then just kind of, but if I would have never messaged and just, waited for the reply or yes or no, and then look at where we are now.
That's such a valuable lesson, Yeah. Like, you just do it, man. You put it out there, and if it doesn't work, you keep putting it out there.
That's right, man. We wouldn't be having this conversation now.
That's right.
So thanks, Zakk.
Yeah.
Thank you for my narcissism.
You are welcome. So Terry, okay, so the wands and
wands, man.
What do you remember about that,
dude? I have to tell you, man, that was probably one of the funniest days of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you told Zakk about the story or whatever.
I told him a little bit about it.
I can't even remember half of it, but we literally, so that year at the workshop was the year that Rusty and I, first met or whatever, and we started to hang out.
There's a whole story about that too with the campus, you know what I mean?
I mean, and we went we were driving everywhere and going this place or whatever. And like I said, kindred spirits. I mean, we just sort of, hung out. And so Rusty that year got put in a trailer. The campus that year was being refurbished or something, and so they had a whole bunch of people down in trailers, and that was a whole funny point of contention because we had like the elitists up on the hill, that were in the regular classrooms, and then poor Rusty and some other guys who were down in the trailers.
Down in the trenches, man. Yeah.
Down in the trenches, And so we started coming up with these just fantastical scenarios of like, living down in the trailer park of the guitar workshop, and how like, we'd start getting some, like the pink flamingos outside, and the little wading pools to put our feet in, and the wife beater t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And and then we saw, I think it was one of the teachers there, his last name, I won't say his last name, but it had something to do with the wands. we turned it into the wands. And it was no disrespect towards him or anything. It just, we saw him outside kind of doing that. I think he was on his porch. He had like a fold up chair, like on the porch of the trailer, and his feet out there, and the hat and everything. And so it just turned into this whole like amalgam of like that and like
and the Fonz. It was partially
how he was actually like Fonzie. He was really cool, and jumped the trailer park on his bike or something.
Yeah, he's kind of like Evel Knievel meets Fonzie meets the Wands. I don't know.
The Wands, became his name.
So he was out there jumping trailer parks,
jumping trailers and
all kinds of shit on his motorcycle and stuff.
Yeah, man. And then that turned into, we had the Sing Vai discussion, of course, where we thought we were going to find somebody that, or we wished that there was somebody that was able to actually sing
like Yngwie plays guitar.
Every note played that Yngwie plays.
And so somehow it just popped into my mind. I was like, oh yes, we'll call him Sing Vai.
Sing Vai, that's right. Rusty came up with it. We were just on the ground, man, tears like rolling down my eyes, like So and it went on for hours. Like we were in that trailer for hours just making stuff up.
That was great. So I eventually discovered that there really is a Sing Vai.
You were saying,
So a buddy of mine, that I think you know him too. I think we were both on one of his compilation CDs. The dude from England,
Matt Williams.
Matt. Right
from Wales.
Yeah, Matt had sent me a Sean Lane CD, Sean and Jonas, and I think I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but I think it's the Vinnie brothers or something like that.
Okay.
The Indian guys that sing and do the all that stuff.
Yeah, that's the Live in Paris, the Sean stuff.
No. There's an album. I think it's called Good People in Evil Times, maybe.
Yes. Okay.
Right, it's a studio album.
Yep.
So I'm listening to this for the first time, and I had never ever heard anything like this in my life. I didn't even know this kind of music existed.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So right in the middle of this song, this dude Sing Vai busts out into a solo. Right, you know what I'm talking about? You know the song?
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
So I'd never heard this before. So at first I'm just laughing hysterically. I have to pull my car over because I was about to have a wreck. Because it was just, it was funny. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then as I sat there on the side of the road and continued to listen, that funniness turned into amazement.
It is, yeah.
It was like, man, what that dude can sing and verbalize.
It's the
if I could play that, what he could sing,
he's singing just the most. They have various syllables that
Takadimi and all that.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about it. I just bought a book the other day.
It's amazing stuff, man.
But it's like,
had you heard Shakti previous to that, or did you?
I had heard Shakti, but I'd never heard them do that in any Shakti. I had the live CD.
There's what is it? The second Shakti album. So you had the live CD, right?
The one with like 3 songs on it. Yeah.
Okay. The second album, I think it's what is it?
So do they do that on that album? What's that called?
Carnatic
or something like that?
Yeah. He does it at the beginning of one of the tunes. He does that thing. And
I didn't
because they kick in with it. He goes, bam, and they hit the tune, and comes in, and it's like.
That's just some insane stuff, dude. I'd never heard that before. And I was like, holy shit, is. Sing Vai does exist.
Yeah.
It
really does, in that respect. That's funny. Yeah. So now the next level is what we were talking about. We have to get somebody to actually make words up to, like, like Far Beyond the Sun.
Right. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 1 word per note.
1 word per note.
I think there's some
double wording stuff. No,
that's right. Yeah. You don't want to be unsynchronized wording.
Yeah. No. You got to have words per second.
Yeah. What is that dude that's in the Guinness Book of World Records for singing or talking fastest? He did commercials for a while. I saw him.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember that. Yeah.
Dude, he can talk pretty fast. He might be up to the Sing Vai gig. We should call him up and see if he wants to sing a solo on one of our records.
There we go, man. We got to do a thing together, and we'll just play the guitars. We'll do dual guitar tag, and we'll have that cat come in and sing.
That's right. He can do harmony.
We got to get the rights to the Yngwie tunes, though.
Yeah.
We got to talk to him and see if he'll.
Actually, we should just orchestrate it and just have it all be him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we could keep up with that.
No, I can't touch Yngwie. Forget it.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yngwie Lives. That'd just be the name of the album.
I'd pay for that.
The son of Yngwie. You know? Oh man, that's great shit right there, dude. You can't make that up.
It was a crazy time, man. It's really funny.
So the last thing, I know we kept you probably long enough, but the whole mystique around the camp, you remember that shit. We had to sneak off to play together.
Yeah, that's right.
Me and Terry had never played together before, and everybody it was just like Rusty and Terry both here at the same time. It was a big thing, and everybody wanted to know who's faster, who's better, who's this. And me and Terry were like, we weren't having any of that shit.
What year was this?
I don't know, late 90s.
98 maybe.
Maybe.
Okay.
And we had to actually sneak off so we could go sit down and play together. Yeah. Without anybody, making a big deal out about it or making us feel pressured to play or any weird shit. You know what I mean?
We just wanted to play. We didn't want to it wasn't a show. We just sort of
And man, it was crazy, dude.
No, I remember that.
It was like,
I think we had a couple of the teachers kind of like snuck in the room or something like that or whatever.
But it was pretty cool. I had a great time, dude. And it was.
Oh, I did too, man.
Fun, and it was just like the hype. It was like Jesus, and we even talked about it. It's like, dude, we're gonna have to sneak off somewhere. Yeah, when nobody's watching. Well, everybody's going to bed. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
10 o'clock. I think they're all in their dorms. Let's get up there and see if we can just keep the lights off. Keep the lights off.
Yeah. Because man, those campers, dude, those people would be up late jamming and shit. Yeah. But those good times, man. Well, dude, it's always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, listen, guys, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. It was really super fun to talk to you guys. Rusty, man, as always, I feel like, I don't know what it's been, like 20 some years have gone by, but I feel like we lost a minute. So we're going to talk this week.
All right. Sounds good, man.
I'm going to text you. We're going to find a time when you're not busy. And then
we'll have to sneak off to make phone calls.
We'll have to sneak off to make the phone call. Yeah, but we'll see what we can do. And Zakk, it was really great to meet you, man. You're a fantastic player. And I'm glad to have discovered you as well. And to hear you
Tell him he's got to get his album out.
Get your album out.
Damn it. I've heard that so many times, and I'm like, all right.
The show, man. You can have as many great ideas and as you possibly can imagine, man. You can have a whole like epic thing in your head based on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like 500-minute long thing with Gandalf charging ahead on Shadowfax and guitar sweeping and everything. Doesn't mean jack. Unless you actually have product, like you have the thing and it's there and it's out and people. And
it gains you a whole new level of respect, right? Yeah, it puts you in a different realm immediately.
It does, and I think that there's a certain level of like satisfaction, and also it's like a stepping stone in your own emotional thing. Like you were saying before, like once you make that move and you put the energy out there and you do this thing, then you get the confidence. You're like, man, I did this thing.
I did this.
I'll do another one. I can do this. Maybe I can get this. Maybe I can do that. So,
absolutely. Well, it's great to hear from actual real guitar players. I said it before, like to Rusty, that it's when your mom tells you to do it, or like your dad. My dad didn't tell me to do it, but
he made you do it.
He's like you're gonna fuck. But like when just normal people that you love and care about are like, hey, you should do that. Oh my god, and then you kind of like. Whatever, but when you actually have people that are in the game and are, they're doing it to tell you to do something, it's really encouraging. So I'm working on it. I got the drums booked. We're recording it, and it will be out before the end of the year. That's a promise.
Yeah,
awesome. We're gonna hold you to that, dude. And if we have to come down here and kick your ass, then we will.
Oh damn.
Yeah, or bang your head against the piano. Rusty's gonna do it.
Yes. Can you hear that vibration, son? Feel it. Can you feel me now?
What'd you say? Album.
Yeah, album.
But no, man, I really appreciate it. I'm really glad that I added one extra guitar player to some of my favorites. So that's good.
Oh, thank you, man. Me too.
Thank you.
We actually didn't play a single note on our guitars for this thing.
That's true.
Right. That's so weird.
So I'm gonna play.
All right. Let's do it.
Take us out.
Enough said.
Boom.
Perfect.
Single note. There was so much. There was so much feeling in that one note. Did you hear that?
Hey,
if I would have played fast,
it
would have totally blown the whole thing. But that one note right there.
It's really.
Hey Zakk, what was that note?
People are weeping across the country and the universe at this point. They're just, oh my god, that note.
So Zakk, what was that note?
Was it an E?
Terry? Yeah, there you go.
It was an E. I fucking nailed it.
Yeah. See, all those years of the head against the piano paid off.
Yeah.
And on that note, have a great
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, man.